Welcome to Spotlight. I'm your host, Amitha. Join us weekly to get inspired by guests and their success stories. As we progress as a civilization, we may be losing touch with nature, and this may affect the longevity of a healthy, viable life. We are very grateful to the advocates of nature conservation and wildlife protection. It's with pleasure that we welcome to our show the CEO of Toronto Zoo, Mr. Dolf DeJong. Dolf, it's nice to have you here with us today.
Thank you so much for having me.
So, we are looking forward to hear from you about what's happening with the Toronto Zoo. But before that, let's enlighten our audience about you, your educational background, and your professional career thus far.
Well, I've been so fortunate. I think I'm one of the last generations of free-range children. I spent a lot of time outside, living in the country, in the forests around Acton, Ontario, on the Niagara Escarpment. And that started my journey, which was really a lifelong love of connecting people to the natural world. And that led me to an academic career in biology and physical geography, and then a master's degree in environmental studies, actually doing aquatic ecology, and then a teaching degree to help get the tools together to share that passion and information. And then professionally, I've been so fortunate. I've worked in our Ontario Park system as both an educator and an operations specialist. Got to jump into our conservation authorities, which protect big blocks of land based on watershed, and then shifted over to the plant world at Royal Botanical Gardens, where I met some of the greatest interpreters as they got kids excited about hostas and roses when they weren't in bloom, before jumping into my current field, the zoological profession at the Vancouver Aquarium, with a little bit of a time over in Spain at Europe's largest aquarium, before returning to Vancouver as the general manager, and then ultimately getting to come back to our Toronto, and given the great honor of being the CEO of your Toronto Zoo.
Amazing. What a journey. And I love it that you had this passion from the very beginning and you were exposed to it as a child too. What do you think some of the setbacks are in our current society, when people are not paying that kind of attention to nature, and what are the dangers of that?
Yeah, well, this risk is very real. As we become increasingly urbanized, we're losing touch with what's going on in the natural world. And while there's great tools to connect us with videos, with TV, getting out there, seeing what's there, understanding that diversity, and really understanding the threats it's under. Habitat fragmentation, habitat loss, illegal wildlife trade. When you go further afield, illegal bushmeat. Things, unfortunately, aren't getting better for nature. You look at the United Nations reports, the reports from WWF Canada, Nature Conservancy Canada, they all agree on one thing. We are losing species faster than ever, and we're in the sixth extinction. So we need to keep doing more and more to connect our urban audiences with the challenges in these remote places. And at the same time, look at our urban communities and how do we build habitat connectivity? How do we create safe places for animals to live with us? And how do we come together to make sure we have these animals on the planet for future generations?
Well said. So, how do you think, like today, through the show, we hopefully can reach out to a wide audience and get this message out? But how can, day-to-day individuals be part of this movement?
Well, a big part of what we want to do is get people curious about nature. So whether that's through visiting the zoo or through our digital channels, but get people thinking about their impacts on the natural world and how choices they make every day can really make a difference and a positive difference, whether it's looking at the food you eat and choosing sustainable seafood to make sure we have those big fish in the ocean, looking at our choices when we're buying chocolate and things like palm oil. Are we buying products that are going to make sure they're having a minimal impact on those wild rainforests? And really adding that sustainability lens, what I call your conservation-minded identity. When you make every purchase choice, if it's going to be in your hand for 5 seconds and less, why are you buying it? Or why are you using it? Is there an option? And we can all take those small steps and then spin that up to those big steps. What are the choices we're making when we talk to our government officials? How are we going to apply some pressure to make sure our values in protecting nature are reflected in our government's values and the policies they make? So day to day, people make those choices every time they pull their wallet out, and every time they go to the ballot box, they're deciding what they care about.
Well said. So the first step is really being conscious and then taking action. Now, I have a question for you. You know, during this COVID-19 lockdown, when most of us have been at home, so we may have not been contributing to the pollution, quote unquote, that we usually contribute to nature. Have you, as you know, a professional, seen a difference in any kind of positive or negative way to nature and wildlife during this time?
You know, that's a great question, and you know, I think the data will start to come out in time as far as the impacts of less traffic out there, less people outside, less carbon dioxide being produced. At our zoo, we do see differences in some animals' behavior where many of them actually miss our guests, and they're far more interested in the animal care staff and the maintenance staff going by. But you know, I think we are going to see some things, like our choices to travel less can make a difference as far as the amount of carbon dioxide being released. And we're also going to see other areas where it's gotten worse. You know, as we look to maintain people's health, we're using more plastics in a lot of cases, more disposable masks, more disposable gloves. So how are we going to build the systems to make sure that if we do use those, they end up in the right streams and ideally recycled, and that we come up with other reusable options to both protect our health and minimize our long-term impact on the environment?
Well said. So there's some pros, some cons. So thank you for that insight. And we will have to, as you say, wait for the data to come through. So now it's time to learn a little bit more about the Toronto Zoo in detail. But before that, it's time for a short break. Welcome back to Spotlight. We are talking to the CEO of the Toronto Zoo, Mr. Dolf DeJong. So this is great. We got to hear a little bit about your professional background and your opinions as to why we should connect better and be conscious so we can help nature, we can help protect wildlife. Now let's get to where you are right now. Since you took office as CEO of the Toronto Zoo in 2018, tell us what changes have been brought around.
Well, the amazing part of our zoo is when I arrived, we had a team that was really eager to take a hard look at what we were doing and look for opportunities. And one of the first things we did actually was go through a review of our strategic plan and ultimately wrote a new plan that was adopted by our board of management in February of this year. And the most important piece of that is we took a long look at our mission. You know, why does our zoo exist? Why are we here? And what are we trying to achieve? So with our mission, it's connecting people, animals, and conservation science to fight extinction. And we do that with our zoo and the animals in our care, as well as with our digital channels. And we really wanted to be clear and understandable for people on why we exist, because we have a vision, and it's a world where wildlife and wild spaces thrive. And we're part of that equation as humans, and we can play a huge part in making sure it happens. So that strategic plan was critical for us to map out our future direction. And within that plan, there's kind of 5 key pieces. The first one is to save wildlife. We want to make sure these animals are here for generations to come. The next is investing in our team, and that's our staff and our volunteers, to make sure they're equipped to help us save wildlife. The next is to create wow, and we use really simple terms. When people come out, and whether they're at the zoo or online, we want them to be like, wow, I didn't know that. Wow, that was interesting. And wow, I'm going to take some action. So that was important to us. The fourth was our zoo and our community. The zoo is a place for Torontonians to be proud of, to visit, to learn from, and it's their zoo. And we're really just proud to be the stewards of that. So we wanted to make that connection and take the steps we need to take to make sure also our zoo reflects our community. So we have a lot of work to do there. And the last is, how do we become amongst the most technologically advanced zoos in the world in the next decade? So how do we use technology to better connect people, have better educational outcomes, deliver better animal welfare, more efficient operations? And we really think that the future, of course, includes more technology. And that's really driven our planning, and it's really been a key part of how our zoo is changing.
Amazing. I love the strategy. And I also love the fact that he said it is the people's zoo. So the whole community is involved. So during these times, what can the public expect in terms of the services being provided or the viewings? Tell us a little bit more. Again, with all these restrictions, we are still slowly opening up. Phase 2 is going to be in place. So tell us more.
So COVID-19 presented unique challenges for all people, all walks of life. But our mantra was closed but still caring, and that we'll look after our team and our animals no matter what. We were unwavering in our commitment to do those things. Since the restrictions have lifted a little, we've opened our scenic safari drive-through zoo, and we've literally sold over 30,000 tickets for that as people were eager to get outside, have a safe, physically distanced way to reconnect with nature and the animals that call our zoo home. And the public feedback has been phenomenal. We are starting to think about what the next phase looks like. Again, following the lead of our medical officers of health, making sure we're doing our part to flatten the curve, making sure we're protecting our staff and animals. But we're really excited, hopefully in the next weeks or months, to be able to start hosting walk-in traffic. And we're going to reinvent our zoo. We need to keep looking at how our post-COVID world's going to look and make sure that we can provide those great experiences, achieve our mission, and do it in ways that we never dreamed of. 45 years, we'd never had a drive-through zoo, and our team found a way to deliver that in 4 weeks, and we're just so proud of them.
That's amazing. That's what the passion is all about. Even the lockdown doesn't stop you. Find ways so people can connect. And the fact, you sold so many tickets in so little time already tells us that people really do miss nature, really do miss that connection with wildlife. And just like you said, even, the animals in the zoo also miss that human touch. So you see a little bit more interaction with the staff. So this is again coming back to what you mentioned. For a day-to-day person, how can you be involved in this movement is to be conscious about the fact that it is really important to keep that connection. So we should be conscious about conserving nature and about protecting our wildlife. Now, I have a question for you. What is your favorite part of the zoo?
Well, there's two sides to the same coin. My favorite things about our zoo are our animals and our people. I get to work with passionate individuals, and they are so committed to our mission and our cause. They're so committed to their animals. And then the fact that, I was fortunate enough to win a role where they gave me keys that I can go into a zoo anytime. And 1.2 million guests pay to come visit our Toronto Zoo. And I receive a salary to go there. So I love being able to go to get to see those animals and get to reflect on what their future looks like, and to work with people to make sure that no matter what, we're providing that insurance policy that's becoming more and more important as we lose species faster than ever. So we have really important work to do, critical work to do. And I wish it was a different story. I wish things were doing better in the natural world, and we didn't have to step up and be doing more work breeding Blanding's turtles or loggerhead shrikes or Vancouver Island marmots. But we're going to be doing more and more of that work as the years go on.
Very well said. And thank you for that. People like you, your team, who are making that difference. And today we hope to get that message across to our audience as well, and we can work on this together. So tell our audience where we can find out more information so that they can come and be part of this phase 2 reopening and whatever is upcoming.
Yeah, we really look forward to hosting guests again, right? Our mission, connecting people, animals, and conservation science to fight extinction. It's hard to do when we can't have people. So folks looking for more information can go to torontozoo.com. That always has updates on our operating hours and our practices. And people, they can also do their part by just going online. Your support on social media, sharing our Facebook Lives every day, our education programs we do twice a week. We really value that support as well as we work to build a community of conservation champions who really are learning more about the natural world and committed to making sure we have it and it's getting better.
There you go, viewers. You have more information there. And we have more to talk about with Mr. Dolf DeJong. But before that, it's time for a short break. Welcome back to Spotlight. We are talking to the CEO of the Toronto Zoo, Mr. Dolf DeJong. So, Dolph, this is great. We got to hear about what the Toronto Zoo is offering now and has always offered, but now with the slow reopening with the COVID lockdown, I'm amazed the services that are already in place. So, you are quite busy as an executive, so much things to do, getting your team together, getting everybody in the community involved, and it can be quite stressful, especially when the norm is a little different now with the COVID-19 lockdown. I wonder what you are doing to take a step back, relax, maybe connect with nature, or doing something for yourself to heal from within.
Yeah, that's so important, and I'm grateful. I'm supported by an amazing family and our great team at the zoo, our community partners, of course. But I spend a lot of time getting out in nature. I spend a lot of time. I literally have my binoculars right here. So sometimes during the day, when birds are going by, when I'm at my home office, I get a glimpse. I try to get a walk and a run in, or get some exercise, because that's so key to our mental health. And like the rest of folks, those moments to reflect, to really practice gratitude for the things that we do have, even in these challenging times, it's more important than ever. So those are some things I do to stay grounded. And let's face it, it's a luxury I have to be in this role and work with these folks. So that is such a huge source of fuel for me to want to do better by our team and our animals. And that's, again, something that being fueled by gratitude comes pretty easily.
Amazing. It sounds like the every creature in the world is part of your family, and I love it. So it's interesting. So, are you a bird watcher officially, or this is just one of your pastimes?
Yeah, I will confess, there's times I've jumped in the car to go see a rare bird nearby. And, I think it's that sense of adventure and discovery and curiosity and seeing things we've never seen before. And, that's nature in a nutshell. There's all these things going on that when we can find a little time and take a few moments to look a little harder, I think folks will really be amazed what they can see. And when they see it, there's no question in my mind that it's going to increase their passion and their desire to protect it. And that, again, is something that when you're curious and you can find those moments, I encourage everyone to do so. And if they can do that, coming to visit us at our zoo or in their neighborhood or in their local park, those are all great venues to get out there, do what's right for you. It's good for your mind. It's good for your body.
Very well said. Now, you have stirred up some curiosity in me, which is the whole point of today's talk. So, as you encourage our viewers to go out there, connect with nature through the zoo, or like you said, in their local parks, nature, if they come upon a species that they've never seen before, what do they do?
You know what? There's so many great tools out there. If you've got your smartphone, there's a great app I use at times called iNaturalist, and they can help you actually identify different animals, whether they're insects, plants, birds, and you can log that, and you can be a citizen science. And I think that's one of the things we're looking for is to give people tools. Earlier I mentioned people's conservation-minded identity. How do you build that into what you do? Just when you're living your day-to-day life, and actually add to the body of knowledge that's out there. So anybody can download that app, anybody can participate, and there's great experts that can help you along the way.
Very well said. Now, another thing that I'm curious about. So this we talked about day-to-day people discovering something and how they can be part of this movement too. Now, at the zoo, how does it work when with the different species, the animals, you have in there? How do you decide who gets to be part of the zoo? And now I'm talking about the animals.
So, there's a lot of animals that have been with us for a long, long time. And those animals are often managed as part of what's called a species survival plan. So with at-risk species, we work with other accredited zoos and aquariums, and we have a framework to say, okay, in order to protect this species, we're going to have them in human care. There's actually a program for breeding to make sure the genetics are protected. And at our zoo, we actually have a reproductive physiology laboratory where we also work, and we can actually do programs to increase the likelihood of pregnancy. And we also protect genetic material. We actually freeze that. So we have that as another reserve, another insurance policy for future generations. So there's a huge amount of science and research that goes into this. And the key piece for us is we do this work before these animals become critically endangered, so we can help them and we can make sure they don't get that far down the road. So we have some truly talented individuals at our zoo, particularly in that department, who are doing world-class research that's found in very few other places around the world.
Wow. There's so much information that I've heard today, and I'm sure our viewers have heard today that we did not know about. So very grateful to you, Dolf, for coming today and giving us all this information. And like I said, making us curious so we can find out more. So once again, where can our viewers find out more information?
Please go to torontozoo.com to take a look. And, we're doing our part to make our hidden zoo go extinct, to share all those stories with you. And thank you all to our community members for your support.
Thank you so much. Do you have any final words for our viewers?
Well, I would just encourage everybody to get out there, take those moments, connect with nature, look up. Those gulls, they're amazing. Even those pigeons that you see have all sorts of wonderful behaviors. Take some time to watch nature, let it soak in. It'll be good for you. It'll be good for the planet.
Thank you very much, Dolf. Well, I'll be visiting soon, and I'm sure our viewers will be too. We wish you all the best with everything that's going on.
Thank you. Look forward to hosting you soon.
Thank you. Well, that was Mr. Dolf DeJong, the CEO of the Toronto Zoo, who has enlightened us more about why we need to be conscious and how we can be part of this movement. That's a wrap for this week's show. Thank you for watching us. Continue to follow us on Facebook, on Twitter, and write to us at spotlight@ethnicchannels.com. Until next time, this is Amitha signing off, encouraging you to connect better with nature and be part of wildlife protection.